names, and what would you like to see as a Touch for Health? Of course, it has to be a Touch for Health session. Pretty much only know Touch for Health. But what would you like to get out of the evening? And I can see what I can do to meet that. And is it Michael? You're at my top right, so maybe you could
Oh,
start.
me. It's it's Mark actually.
Mark, sorry.
That's okay. I need to adjust the machine a bit more. Spend some time here. I'm in New Zealand. I'm doing sort of a SIPS kinesiology aspect, but I've done the Touch for Health 1 to 4, and I use quite a lot of that into weaving with SIPS. I'd be happy. I'm just happy to see people's practices.
Okay.
I just like the dynamics and the little gems that you pick out. So I'm happy to go with whatever is the flow there.
Okay, thank you. And speaking of gems, I see the gems logo. Alexis, is there anything you want to put out as an expectation?
No, I'm happy to have you here. I feel like we started doing this a few months back because one of the things that people were asking for was the ability to see how people work with different modalities in real life, right? Not in class, but in a real life setting, or how they do things, how they integrate things. So I'm finding it really wonderful to see how other people work, even people who I know well. And it's an honor for us to host you. We're so glad you're here. I'm
Thank you.
sick, I'm hiding, but I'm happy to see you all.
Okay, thanks. And my screen's just all switched around because a couple more people logged in. But anyway, I'll try to make a circle out of this. Hi, Valerie, long time no see. Anything you want to see tonight?
Hi, Matt. It's nice to see you. I'm just excited to see you do a full session because I've seen you present a lot. I'm not sure I've ever seen an actual full session besides in class. So it's going to be cool. I'm excited.
Okay. And then Charissa.
Hello. I'm in Invermere, BC, Canada, and I'm just excited to see how you would run a session. I started in Touch for Health, but I do a lot of SIPs now as well, and so I think it'll be a good just refresher of sometimes those basics, those things that we first learned are really more powerful than sometimes we remember. So I'm just excited to see.
Thank you. Then the next one on my screen would be, is it Kasia?
Hi, it's Kasha. I'm
Kasha.
also in British Columbia. I'm in Kelowna, and I pretty much work exclusively with SIPs with a little bit of gems thrown in, but I'm so excited to see the master at work because I obviously started in Touch for Health. Thank you.
And Lisa?
Hi, I'm actually a brain integration practitioner. And so I'm really enjoying learning, about Touch for Health and just seeing other practitioners and muscle testing and so on. So I'm just looking forward to seeing it. And I'm going to blank my screen in a minute because I'm going to eat my dinner. I just got home from work.
Bon appetit. Next on my screen is Megan.
Hi, I am in Colorado, and I've done Touch for Health, the synthesis, and GEMS flow, so I'm still pretty fresh into this world and still pretty fresh with Touch for Health. But it's been a year since that class with Sarah and Eugene. So I'm looking forward to refreshing and seeing your take on things.
Thank you. And last but not least, Tarina. Oh, maybe we'll jump back to Hannah at the end. Is it Tarina?
Sorry, mic issue there. Yeah, hi, I'm Tarina. I'm from Kelowna, BC, Canada as well. So I know Hannah and Alexis and Kasha and Teresa. I started in Touch for Health as well and done the gems, all the gems and SIPs. And so I work in between with all of them as well. So I'm excited to see you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I have to do something quick technical. My other computer, the Siri, is thinking we're talking to it, so I have to make her quiet. Okay, hopefully she's not gonna keep chiming in. And did you want to add anything, Hannah?
I was going to add that Taryn is a Touch for Health instructor as well, but Mom already said it in the chat. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy to have these kind of meetings like everyone else just to see how the people work. That being said, I'm also teaching Touch for Health online on Wednesday. So I'm mostly watching to see how you're like how you're expressing Touch for Health concepts online. I don't know if you are snorming and today, but yeah, that was actually going to be my question if we want to address snorming and SAPCAP. So glad it's on the board.
Yeah. Okay, thank you guys for giving me a little orientation to who's here and what your interests might be. And I want to view speaker. Let's see. Okay, something fell down over there. Actually, I'm going to pin my speaker me, so if I can find myself again. That's one of the difficulties of doing Touch for Health online. You have to be able to manage the okay, you have to manage the technology. Okay, for the recording especially, but so I can see what you're seeing, I've got me pinned. So hopefully, but that's only on my end. Actually, Hannah, since you're the master, I think you should pin me, whoever's the admin, so that I'll be seen. And then maybe I'll call on.
I'm recording on my computer and I've got speaker view right now, so we see you.
Okay, good. I'm used to being the one who's the admin and presenting, so I was just trying to control things, but actually I'm not the controller right now. But definitely the plan for tonight for me was how to Touch for Health online and how to do a balance with someone at a distance. So we're in study hall, share a session, but we're doing Touch for Health online. And so that will have to involve some kind of coaching over the internet for people to do self-testing and self-balancing while I'm just through the audio visual able to support them through the Touch for Health process. So of course, it's still Touch for Health, so we're still following self-responsibility model. And actually, if we are balancing, coaching someone else to self-check and self-balance, we're relying almost 100% on self-responsibility, on people able to notice for themselves and choose for themselves what they want for their goal and what they want for their balance. So in a way, there's something missing when we're doing it at a distance, because part of the touch and Touch for Health is that there's another human being in an attitude of safety and respect, but who's there to touch you for the purpose of your health. And that adds a big dimension. So, but we can still do a lot over the internet and still somehow touch each other, even if not physically in the same room. And there's certain benefits to being able to do it at a distance, like all these people from different places in the world, we're all together in the same room without having to get on airplanes and fly different places and so forth. And also it really reinforces that self-responsibility model. How we do a self-test isn't exactly how we test with a partner. So I won't be demonstrating that tonight, how I test with a partner, but I'm going to stay quite close to what I think is the main method of testing with a partner in Touch for Health. So you can see how that all those skills will transfer to when you're testing with a partner, but it's also going to really reinforce how you can test on your own and reinforce the whole feeling it for yourself and self-responsibility, which is central to a session in Touch for Health. So I don't know if any of you want to do any energizers before we get started, but I'm going to drink some water. And I'm just very briefly going to finish my preview here to what kind of I do. And someone said, I've only seen you teaching sessions in a class. That's mostly my sessions. My sessions are in a class or in a clinical intensive where we do many sessions with people over the course of a week. So I'm almost always doing a teaching session. So even though I'm doing this more teaching classroom style, that is my style, that is my clinic. So that's my real balance. So typically we want to have some kind of positive, some kind of measures. Maybe we'll throw in some metaphors along the way because that's kind of my part of my special area where I like to get involved. And then, of course, I like to use at least 14 muscles if possible, although a 3 muscle balance is sure a lot better than a no muscle balance. And if 14 muscles is too many, a 3 muscle balance is still better. And then, of course, we have to see what our outcomes, noticing what has changed and reinforcing the change is super important to making the change lasting and amplifying the change that happens. And then when you see that there's been some positive change, you want to have some kind of celebration. And it's not part of the written procedure, but it is part of my normal practice. My way of working is to offer a hug. And of course, sometimes some people don't want a hug. That's perfectly fine. Sometimes it's a high five or a fist bump or just a namaste. So, and we'll see how you can do a hug over the internet. So that's a slight preview between the circle and just because I'm so much in teaching sessions, that's always naturally part of the teaching mode for me. I mean, the session particularly who seem like maybe they need a balance right now, except for someone hiding behind the logo. But if they don't want to be seen on the camera, then maybe this is not the best format for them to receive a balance right now. So then I'll seek some other volunteer. And part of my giving that little mini lecture of what a Touch for Health balance is like for me is to give you an idea, what is the session that you're volunteer for? When I look for a volunteer, especially if it's in front of other people and maybe recorded for people to see later, I like to give them an idea what they're volunteering for, what to expect in a session. So probably all those steps for the study hall group here are familiar. So I don't have to do further education for you to choose if you would like to be a demo model and receive a session under those procedures that we've outlined just now. So is there anybody who feels like they need a balance or would like to experience a balance over the internet? Okay, Lisa. All right, you would like to have a balance? Great. So maybe we can pin both the speaker and Lisa, so we'll see both of us large. And I don't know what you're viewing on your screens, but that's what I'm going to do on mine, so I can see. Oops. Huh. I had a way where I can pin both so I can see both people at the same time, but I'll just go back to speaker. Wait. Sorry. Lisa, I'm going to pin you so at least I can see you all the time. So Lisa, thank you for volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you like better in your life this evening within maybe a 40-minute period that we have budgeted for our study hall this evening?
Well, my lifetime long-term issue is my thyroid.
Okay.
So that's and the thyroid has gotten complicated when I had Lyme, Bartonella, and then chemo and radiation. And it's been bad ever since.
So you say your thyroid has been bad. Has been
Well,
misbehaving in some way?
my mother took thyroid meds when she was pregnant with me. And when I was 19, I was on thyroid for a couple of years. And then I got tired and they took me off of it. But my whole life I've known my thyroid was bad, and I go to a place where they use muscle testing for supplements and stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with Klinghardt, that stuff. And so what happened is they were able to finally find my thyroid, heal it. I lost 50 pounds in 5 months. It was wonderful. And then I found the tick, and I got the Lyme and the Bartonella, both of which crashed my thyroid. And then I already had cancer, so I went in through chemo and radiation. And it's just ever since then I'm working on my thyroid right now. I'm taking certain supplements. Some mercury just showed up on it. We have a chiropractor that does Touch for Health and a few other things, and he just found some mercury. I had all my amalgams out like 8 years ago. But it's like, wow, it was just, we solved it. Now we're back to the drawing board. So that's kind of my
Okay.
issue.
Yes. So it sounds like you've had quite a bit of diagnosis, quite a bit of treatment, and some success in the past with treatment, some improvement. But then other problems, some of which are definitely diagnosed conditions, and you had medical doctors and medical treatments, and some alternative type treatments. And right now you say it's not so great, but you are working on it. You have some support.
Right, but I don't lose weight. It doesn't matter what I do. I don't lose weight. And I've
Okay.
also done a lot of liver flushes. I work with my liver. And so really the biggest issue is my weight, because not being overweight is not healthy. So
Okay, so two things I want to define, but not in medical terms because I'm not a medical doctor. I can't make any diagnosis, prescription, or treatment of any particular condition, but so that I can understand for you as an individual person, what is your experience of these things that may have been diagnoses that some medical doctor has given you. So one is, you said thyroid bad. I would like to kind of know how you experienced that. And the number one thing you mentioned is difficulty losing weight. And you feel like at the weight you're at, it's not healthy.
right.
So other than that, about the weight, and you're concerned that your level of weight is not healthy, is there something else that indicates to you the thyroid is bad?
Well, because when we resolved, not through the doctors, but through muscle testing, my thyroid, I lost 50 pounds in 5 months, and I wasn't doing anything special other than eating healthy and some exercise. So that to me was a functioning thyroid for the first time in my life. And now, because I'm not losing weight at all, no matter what I do, I did a 4-week purification diet in January, didn't lose a single pound, even though I followed it perfectly. And so that to me tells me my thyroid's not functioning, and my liver might be part of that too.
Okay, liver might be involved as well. So you said you had an experience, I'm not sure how long ago, where you said, for the first time in my life, I had a functioning thyroid. And one of the indications of that is I dropped a lot of weight without doing any special crash diet or anything, just eating healthy, doing some exercise.
That's right. That was 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Okay, so other than being at what you have the idea at least is a more healthy weight than now, you've gained weight since then, correct?
Yeah, I'd lost the 50 pounds. I gained through the whole chemo process. I gained like 30 pounds back.
So gained back 30. And in terms of that whole chemo process, medically, do you feel like you got a good treatment and it was successful?
It was absolutely horrific, but I'm cancer free. So, and I was actually trying to cure it naturally until I got the Lyme disease, and that then the cancer really started growing and I had to resort to treatment. So other than that, I do no other medical interventions. I never go to a doctor. It's all muscle testing. So,
Okay. So let's jump back again though to functioning thyroid. So the weight was at what's feel like a more healthy weight. Were there any other indications to you that thyroid is good, a functioning thyroid? How did you experience that?
I mean, I felt good and I don't feel, I probably have a little less energy, but I'm still pretty energetic. I work 2 jobs and also I'm not like exhausted all the time. So it's really the weight issue because it's so drastic, you know, between losing no weight. Like as soon as I found the tick and got Lyme disease, all this weight I was losing came to a dead stop. No more weight, period. And that was 8 months. And then I started the cancer treatment. So that was also another clear indication that my thyroid was in trouble because it was so dramatic. And I had Lyme before, and the muscle testing people that I go to, they found Lyme had gone to my thyroid both times because it's the weak part of my body.
Okay. So when you have a functioning thyroid, your weight is at a healthier weight. And you have energy, but you say you feel good and have energy now. Is
I
there
probably
any
got a
other
little,
indication?
yeah, I can have a little more energy, but you know, I'm not struggling with energy like I am with weight.
Okay. And the amount of weight that you have now, you feel like it's unhealthy. And
Mhm.
is there some special indication how it's interfering with your energy and your feeling good and your functioning that gives you an indication this is not healthy. It's adversely affecting my health.
Right. Well, I have abdominal weight, which of course is not good for the heart and everything.
So there's information out there that if you have abdominal weight, it's not healthy. There's something bad about it, but there's nothing specific that you're experiencing that's sort of interfering with your vitality and living life related to that level of weight.
Yeah, basically. Because again, I'm otherwise, I mean, eat healthy. I take lots of supplements. I'm a healthy person.
Okay,
But
so you're pretty healthy, pretty energetic person, but you could be a little more energetic. And
yeah,
thinking back to that time when you didn't have this Lyme disease, you didn't have this cancer diagnosis, you didn't have to do chemo, and you're going along losing all this weight, you said, wow, that's when I had a functioning thyroid. Is there a moment at that time where you felt like, wow, this is an experience of optimum wellness, a remembered wellness from the past? It could be maybe the type of wellness that you want to return to.
yes, absolutely. I was happy. I was so happy to be losing the weight. And obviously it's easier to move around and everything when you don't have extra weight. So
So happy, easy to move around.
yeah,
Do
I mean,
you think
50 pounds is a lot of weight not to have anymore.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
huge
it's
amount.
extra weight to carry around.
Yeah.
So, can you think of a particular time back then when you had the functioning thyroid, or maybe any time in your life, if it's an even better example, where you were feeling happy, easy to move around, feeling good, having energy? What's your favorite remembered wellness?
Well, when I was a young person, probably in my 20s, I started eating really healthy at 19. I became a vegetarian. And so through my 20s, I was healthy and energetic. Always had a little extra weight, but not a lot. So it was more in my 30s that started to change.
Okay. Can you think of one particular moment, whether it's in your 20s or even just when you felt like you had that functioning thyroid, particular moment where you really felt that, you know, good, feeling good, having energy, easy to move around, being happy?
Yep.
Particular moment, when was it?
It was I was probably 20 years old, and I just always remember this moment. I try to capture moments in life. And I went to college in New Haven, Connecticut. I was in the part of New Haven which was on the water. And I wasn't in the water, I wasn't in a bathing suit. I was just down there, and I just remember feeling so happy. You know, it was nice weather, and you know, the world, my life is in front of me, and you know, everything was good.
Okay. And what is the title or what is the feeling that you want to name that moment in New Haven back when you were about 20?
Peace and joy.
Peace and joy. And in that moment, when you remember it, because you say, oh, I remember that moment and what the weather was like and how I was feeling. What's the number of peace and joy that you experienced then?
What's the what?
The number 0 to 10, 10 being the
0
most
to
peace and joy.
10. Oh, I say probably an 8.
An 8. So you know what an 8 feels like. And
Yeah.
it sounds like kind of like that's your goal again for tonight.
Right. And when I lost that 50 pounds, I would say I was an 8 or a 9 or 10. So yeah,
Okay.
both
So
of those
that's
times.
functioning thyroid with for P and J, peace and joy. You know what a 9 or a 10 feels like even.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that how you would like to phrase your goal for the balance of peace and joy, or this is a different phrase?
Well, there's one more piece that I just realized, and that's hope. When I
Hope.
was losing the weight, you know, when I was younger, I had hope for the future. When I was losing the weight, had lost 50 pounds, I was hopeful because I had a little bit more to lose, but I was hopeful that, you know, we were going to continue until whammo, it stopped.
Uh-huh. So how hopeful are you feeling right now?
In terms of my weight and my thyroid, I'm not feeling hopeful at all.
That's a
I
0
mean,
hope?
pardon? No,
That's a
no, I
0?
mean, I'm a very optimistic person. So I keep thinking there'll be something that will come along. So it's not 0, but you know, it's been 6 years, so it's a little frustrating. So in terms of hope, I guess probably maybe a 3.
Okay. So right now, over the video, knowing we're going to do some Touch for Health balancing, which tends to at least help people feel more balanced and feel a little better. You're about 3 hopeful.
Mhm.
And what is the goal statement for the balance? Is it I am at peace and joy and hopeful, or something else?
Um, yeah, I could say that I'm peaceful, hope, and joyful that my health will be able to get to better through weight loss is really, I mean, I'm very hopeful about my health in general in terms of what I do, but I feel I've had cancer and I'm concerned about the weight. So
Yeah. So when we just measured how you're feeling right now, well, actually, we just measured hope. But what about that whole phrase? I am peaceful, hopeful, and joyful. How much are you feeling that right now?
I'd say probably 5.
A 5, okay, because you're a pretty peaceful, hopeful, and joyful person, but you got some things that aren't working exactly how you would want them to. But you do have a lot of other things that are working pretty well. You say, I got energy, I'm working 2 jobs, you know, I can move around, I do have different resources and things that have helped me in the past. So I'm hopeful they might help me in the future. So weight level is not something that typically is going to change in the course of one balance. Over time, perhaps that might change, or perhaps it won't change. But what if you feel like, well, I'm totally healthy and I can move around and I'm happy and I'm peaceful and hopeful and joyful, even if the weight doesn't change, would it still be satisfying?
Well, not really, because like I said, I'm concerned about the health aspects of
Right.
this. And I've had, like I said, I had the cancer. I'm a widow, I'm a single parent, and so my health is vitally important, and this is not contributing to that. So it's not about, oh, I don't like being this way. It's just, I'm older and I want to get healthier instead of less healthy. So
Okay.
that's important. And what I'm also hoping is, if there's anything that we find that's preventing it, that would be awesome.
Okay. Well, perhaps you have some knowledge. I'm sure you have a lot of knowledge. And some of that will be highlighted as we go through a balance, especially thinking about the goal, and which we've talked about, but maybe some metaphors as we go along. But time-wise, of course, we could explore this much more in depth, but time-wise, I think we want to do some balancing. So we've got a goal statement. We've got some measures. There's not any particular aches and pains that you're having?
Nope.
And you talked about how hopeful you are, and you said this weight is a concern. Should we measure worry and concern as something to see also? How much you're feeling that now and how that might shift during a balance?
Yeah, I think I don't worry about it a lot, but I just feel like over the long term, the weight can become a real negative in my health. So, so for the long term, yeah, I would say, my worry, well, I guess I should say a 5. I mean, if it was an 8,
And
that
would you say worry is
often, but
yeah, we're not going to over focus on that. We also want to listen to,
Right.
A positive and negative emotions, so to speak, or just emotions, whatever you're feeling, sensation. Anything else I should note before we go launching into our balance here?
no, I think that's probably more than you wanted.
It's plenty to work with. I don't know if you have any water. If not, it
Yes.
might be worth going and getting some water.
I have some.
So now, in order to do some muscle testing, we have to first make sure we have an idea of how to do it. So, are you familiar with checking anterior deltoid as an indicator muscle? This one right here,
Yeah,
anterior deltoid.
I don't know the names of the muscles, but yeah.
Okay, or are you being out straight in front, the robot or the soldier?
Right. Well, one of the, just for what it's worth, I muscle test with my fingers.
Okay.
So,
Now, if you prefer, of course, it's self-responsibility and Touch for Health. So I'm just going to follow along with you if you want to do all your muscle testing with your fingers. But in Touch for Health, we think it's quite beneficial to go through the ranges of motion and activate and check in to 14 different large muscles, the muscles themselves, not just an indicator muscle on the fingers or just
Okay.
indicator muscle anterior deltoid.
okay, that's fine.
But if you're familiar already with self-checking using your fingers, then you have a great tool you can combine with what we're doing. But it might be beneficial, more beneficial to check the different muscles directly.
Okay.
But for our indicator muscle, do you want to try using anterior deltoid as an indicator muscle as just an experience? So the first thing you may have heard Hannah say, something called snorming. And if you can see on here, it's snorming, but that's an acronym for self-noticing through the range of motion. So the first thing I want you to do for anterior deltoid is just notice how it feels going through the range of motion forward like this. How does it feel? Is it comfortable? Is it easy to
That's
do?
fine.
Is there any difference left and right?
Nope, it seems fine.
All right, great. So if not, we could just do our neurolymphatic points and a vascular point to switch that muscle on to begin with. And then we can work with it some more to see how it responds. The next thing we want to do is something I call sap and cap. It's self-applying pressure in the contracted position. So that's sap and cap here. For sure, you could just call SAP self-applying pressure. And the snorming, you could just call it for short ROM, range of motion. But I like to put in the self-noticing through the range. So now we're going to self-apply pressure. So I do this range a little bit, but then, and I'm pushing my camera back so you can see a little bit more of me. So you can see that I'm going to keep my arm just in a short range. I'm not going to come up to 90 degrees of the shoulder, keep it further down here. And then I'm just going to apply some pressure and see if it feels easy to hold, if it locks in place.
Good, yep,
Feels like it locks?
yep.
Okay, try the other side. See if
The
they're
other
the
side of the
same.
arm. Like that.
Okay, do you check, so you checked both arms now.
Oh. Left arm's a little weak.
Left arm's a little weak, so let's switch it on. Are you familiar with these neurolymphatic points?
Not really. I know about them, but I don't know them.
So between the ribs, if you start up here next to the collarbone, that's between second and first and second, then second and third, then third and fourth is the one we're looking for, and fourth and fifth, those two. So between the ribs, close to the sternum. And it would be the same level at the back, but unless you have like a massager to do that with, we'll just do what we can easily reach.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can lightly hold what we call a neurovascular point on the top of the head here. So it's on the anterior fontanelle, so it's a bit forward. It's not right in the middle of the top of the head, it's a bit to the front. And just hold that lightly. And you might possibly even feel the pulsation there, but just holding 20 or 30 seconds is usually enough to come back and recheck. How does it feel pushing on anterior deltoid on both sides?
Yep, that's good.
It's good. Okay. Have you ever had anyone pinch your anterior deltoid to shorten the fibers to see how it responds?
Yeah, we learned that in class.
Okay, so let's try that and then push on the arm and see if you feel a difference.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so lengthen to strengthen, tweaking to weaken, it's responding as expected.
Yep.
Correct? Okay, now think of something just a little bit unpleasant and recheck the muscle.
Okay.
Aha, something pleasant.
Yep.
Okay, and then let's zip down central meridian and recheck.
Weak.
Then zip back up.
Strong.
Okay, so we have an indicator muscle. You can maybe do that with your fingers, but we can teach anyone to do this with a partner or on themselves. So now I want you to restate your goal, which is I am peaceful, hopeful, and joyful. And then check your indicator.
Peaceful, hopeful, joyful.
Okay, so there's some stress related to that goal. You're not.
Yep. Mhm.
All right. So now we're going to go through at least some of the 14 muscles. I see on my clock I did a little bit too much teaching if I wanted to do it in the time frame. But we'll get at least some of these muscles. So the first one we're going to do is similar to anterior deltoid, but not exactly the same. And that's going through the range of motion like this. So palm is towards the groin and we'll go towards the groin and up and out. How does that feel? First of all, just self-notice through the range. How comfortable is that? Is it the same on both sides?
Good. The sides don't feel exactly the same.
Okay, already the sides don't feel exactly the same. And now let's try putting some pressure on the left side and then on the right side. See if it easily locks in place.
Left is strong, right is weak.
Okay, but I'm observing that when you're pushing on the right side, it looks like you're pushing straight down, but I want you to push towards the groin. It's like a 45-degree
Oh,
angle.
okay.
So it's different than anterior deltoid.
Yeah, left is strong, right is weak.
Okay, so just one side. So we'll go to our neurolymphatic points. You can find here right next to your shoulder, and you're looking for where it might be tender along that seam there, the edge of the shoulder.
Yep, found it.
You found some sore spots there, and then
Yeah.
at the back of the head, base of the skull, both sides. We're doing the neurolymphatic because my preference right from level 1 is if it's both sides, I do my spinal reflex, if one side neurolymphatic. Okay, and then let's recheck.
Right's still a little bit weak, but much stronger.
Still a little bit weak, but what much stronger. So for time, we could just move along, or we could challenge it just by touching that point and testing again to see if by touching the point, there's an indication we can do more of that point.
It's strong.
Okay, so it got stronger after you touched the point. So that's an indication we'll get some benefit from doing some more of that.
Okay, cool.
And wherever you find it's more tender, maybe give it a little bit of extra attention.
Okay.
Okay, let's check it one more time to see how it's feeling.
Good.
It's good. Okay. Next one, technical term for this one is called chicken wings, otherwise known as teres major, related to governing meridian. So first of all, yeah, just check the range of motion. How comfortable is it to do that range of motion? Or is it tight or tense or sore or different on the two sides?
You know, a little different on the left, I think. Not a lot, but just a little. But
Now, to try to pull on that myself, for me, it feels awkward. I don't feel like I get leverage to pull on my own arm that way. So
yeah,
I'd rather do the range of motion and then come back to my indicator, anterior deltoid, or you could also do this movement and then do your own self-test indicator.
okay. Right's weak.
Unlocking on the right. So we're going to look for these sore spots here, but real wide between the first and second ribs here, or second and third ribs. Oh, I found a good point myself.
Yeah.
Gain a little benefit going along with you. And then we can also rub beside T2 on both sides here. So just below where the neck attaches there, beside the spine on both sides.
So I have a question. When you're doing this, are you always using the same neurolymphatic points for that muscle?
For the particular muscle, it's always the same neurolymphatic points, yes.
Okay.
But for different muscles, it can be different points.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes muscles share points.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so now
Alright.
let's try this chicken wing, see how it feels again.
That feels much better.
Much
Feels
better.
really good.
And you said it was it the left or the right that didn't feel as good?
It was the right.
Okay, so try the right and recheck your indicator.
It's good.
Okay, so we'll move on and we'll try pectoralis major clavicular, otherwise known as the swimmer. Okay, and that looks like the range, but you want to rotate thumbs down as much as comfortable. That's also part of the pec function. How does that feel?
A little awkward.
Little awkward, and then try pushing it. See if it locks in place at this position at 90 degrees in front, pushing down and out.
Yeah, that's weak. Left is strong, right's weak.
Right is weak. You can also play with some metaphors, and that might give you also some insights into your life and your health. So when you do this movement right and left, what comes to mind, or what sensation do you feel? What intuition do you get? Is it like swimming or?
Going through like a dense field of grass.
Mhm. Like an explorer or just making space?
Kind of like the idea of quicksand, but not being quicksand.
Okay, not in quicksand, but it's a feeling like in quicksand. And does that relate at all to your story?
Well, yeah, I guess the word stuck kind of came to mind. So yeah.
Some feeling stuck. Now, I'm not sure exactly what stuck is about and what we can do to fix stuck. The temptation is to solve the problem, but actually, when we're working with the metaphors, we're just trying to get some insight. And we don't have to resolve every issue. Sometimes they feel resolved in the moment, but that's not necessarily the goal. It's just realize, okay, what does this feel like? And does it kind of reflect something related to my life or to my goal? So then we go ahead and recheck the range of motion, see how it feels, see if there's a change.
That feels much better.
Okay, and let's try pushing on it, see if it easily locks in place.
Am I pushing in that same direction?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the right's still a little weak. The left is strong.
Right's still a little weak. Would you like to play exploring metaphors a little more, or should we go for a point to balance?
I have no idea.
Okay, just for fun, let's do metaphors. So we
Okay.
sometimes call this movement in this test stomach, because we relate this muscle to stomach meridian. So what does stomach symbolize for you right now in the context of your goal in your life?
Yeah, stomach is part of the problem in a sense. That's when food goes there, and that's when the trouble begins.
That's when the trouble begins. It's not so much that you're eating too much food, but you're not able to lose any excess weight.
Right. Yeah.
Symbolically, it brings you back to that issue of the weight.
Right. Yeah.
Stuff going in the stomach is just, you're retaining too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Well,
like
it's not being processed the way it's supposed to in the whole area that,
yeah, so
metabolism.
the processing function, but maybe not just stomach, but the whole metabolism system.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's see how this feels again.
That feels a lot better.
Cool, let's try pushing on it again, see if it locks in place.
That's good. Good.
All right.
There.
Good. All right, so for time wise, you know how I said a 3-muscle balance is better than no muscle balance. So I'd like to do just one more muscle with you and then come back to your measures and see if anything shifted, even though we haven't done a whole 14 muscle balance.
Right.
Try this range of motion just for fun. This is subscapularis. We relate this to heart meridian. How does this one feel?
It feels stiff.
Little stiff? Okay, and then see if you can get some leverage to push your arm forward and see if it's easy to hold in place or not.
I'm sorry, am I supposed to resist that, right?
You're supposed to hold it here and push it forward. And then you're supposed to try to hold it while you push. Does it seem to want to hold there in place, or does it just not lock?
It's the left arm will hold in place, the right one won't.
Okay.
So the
So
right is weak.
meridian, right side, one will hold in place, one will not. Does any of that sound metaphorical or symbolic to you for your life and your goal?
Well, I guess it would be a lot of things are working and some things aren't.
Some things working, some things not. Some places are getting the energy, some places aren't. Some are functioning as, because you're doing very well in so many ways. You have mentally clear, you can express yourself, you have energy, you work 2 jobs, but something about the metabolism, not quite in its full balance, its full function.
Mm-hmm.
What about the heart meridian? Does that relate to anything in this story?
Yes, that's probably about my daughter. She's had a lot of sexual abuse as a child. And that's an ongoing process.
Okay, so when you think of heart, you think back to your daughter and the struggles and challenges that she's had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try this range of motion again. And see if it wants to lock in place. Same on the left and right.
A little weak on the right.
Little weak on the right. Should we go for some points, or do you like this game of talking about metaphors?
I don't know. Maybe try some points.
Okay, so just let's massage right here between the ribs, close to the sternum. Again, there are lymphatic points because it seems like different on left and right. Just sticking with my basics here. See how that feels.
Yes, tender.
Tender?
Mhm.
Okay. And of course, if you had a back scratch or something, you could go ahead and rub the points at the back, but don't hurt your arms. Don't strain yourself trying to reach that same level between the shoulder blades. All right, let's try one last time. See if we got any improvement, left versus right. We're going back to the scarecrow position and we're pushing it forward. There you go.
Good.
It's good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we balanced a few muscles and a few meridians. That's 4. We could have done 10 more if we had the time.
Mm-hmm.
So on a future occasion, we could do more, or if you like this type of balancing, you can follow up with an instructor or practitioner. But for now, let's check back to the goal and say, I am peaceful, hopeful, and joyful.
I would say that's gone up.
That's gone up. Let's check the
Yeah.
indicator muscle when you say it.
Yep.
That's locking. It's gone up. What number would you put on it now?
Let's see, 7. Yeah, 7.
So your subjective sense is a 7 and your arm also agrees it's a 7. Okay. I usually just stick with what the subjective person feels, but if you want to also check a muscle, go right ahead. And in terms of peace and joy, you said you were at an 8 in the memory. Is that the same 7, or peace and joy by itself is something different?
Peace and joy is different because the hopeful part is about the weight. And if you just look at peace and joy, I can be very peace and joyful person. But when you bring the weight in, then it's the hope. Yeah.
So peace and joy by itself, where are you right now?
I'd say an 8. Yep, that looks
8,
good.
okay. So kind of like in your remembered wellness, you're actually right now, as far as peace and joy, you're maybe almost as good as you ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about hope, where's your level of hope?
Let's see. 5.
5, okay. So that's some improvement after balancing a few muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized we talked about being worried, but you said, I don't really like to focus on worry. And I'm not sure we ever, oh, you did say it was a 5 before. I just forgot to write that down. You said it was maybe a 5 worry. How worried are you right now? Maybe particularly about the weight and how that's an indication. Maybe it's not good for your health.
Less, I feel less worried.
Less worried, what number would you put?
Well, is less worried a lower number or a higher number?
For me, I would make it less because there's something I want 0 of, then 0 is where I'm trying to get to.
Okay. All right. Let me see. 4.
Okay, so at least you went down 10% on this scale. And I think that's everything I measured at the beginning because you didn't have any special aches and pains.
Yeah.
So for the time, do you feel like we've done enough? Are you satisfied with this session?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Is there
thank you very much.
Is there anything else you'd like to note here? Something that you found changed, shifted?
Well, how do you assess the thyroid then at this point?
Well, thyroid, you mean like maybe I could do some blood tests and figure out thyroid condition, function?
No, I mean energetically.
Energetically. Well, for me, I still wouldn't a muscle test to tell you what your thyroid is doing because even if it's energetically, it sounds like a diagnosis to me. So in Touch for Health, we're very careful not to get into diagnosis. But what I was trying to define very clearly is you say thyroid bad. Okay, what does that mean to you in your experience of lived life? Is it affecting your energy, your hopefulness, your joy, whatever your indications, your level of happiness? So that's my check, not of thyroid so much just individually, but as you as a whole person with thyroid as part of your life experience. So all those measures that I did, the holistic, what you're experiencing in your life, those are my assessment. And that's what I want to be able to come back and recheck. Has that changed? And that's what gives me hope on a holistic level. I mean, the fact that you're alive today is amazing because your body is miraculous and it heals itself. And so I know that it's always doing that. So if I can help to balance more in general, I can trust the body to take care of itself. So I'm not really going to try to directly assess thyroid and treat thyroid directly, but I am going to try to do a holistic interview with you and get some measures so we can see some measures that you can notice right now if something changed. But of course, the fact that the change in the indicator muscles, that also gives me an indication we've done something to balance at least some of the energy pathways. And we balance central and governing first, and those are 2 important ones for balancing the rest of the meridians. So if we're only going to do 2, those are 2 good ones to do.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Okay. Any other
Thank you very
comments
much.
or questions?
No, that was fascinating. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Would you like a hug?
Yes.
So it's difficult to do a hug over the screen, but because we have mirror neurons, if you look at me squeezing while you squeeze yourself, it's almost as if we give each other a hug.
Cool.
It'll stimulate our brain in a way like we're hugging.
Uh-huh.
And if we do that with that intention, you can receive a hug from me and I can receive a hug from you.
Awesome.
Okay, well, thank you for volunteering for that, Lisa.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Are there any comments or questions from the group, even though we only have 1 minute? Maybe if there's questions or comments, we can go a few minutes over. I guess that was, yeah, I see someone right in the middle of my screen. Teresa?
Yeah, just a question about noticing that you like to do the metaphors for balancing the muscles. Is that something that you consistently like to do rather than doing neurolymphatics or neurovasculars? Or I'm just curious about that.
Well, I thought it would be a fun thing to demonstrate, especially since we're doing it over the internet that we can see, well, even if I can't touch the person, I can do something through audio visual coaching that will also balance the energy. For me personally, I try to tailor it to the person. Yes, playing with metaphors is a specialty, so that's something I do a lot of. But some people, they don't like those funny questions. So I try to notice that right away. And if they prefer to stay concrete, physical touch, doing the meridians, holding the neurovascular points, etc., then we can stay there. Some people actually don't like to be touched too much. And so they like seeing, oh, we can do a lot of this moving energy, balancing muscles just with conversation and meditation and reflecting on my life with these different metaphors. So we have the options. And then usually there's kind of a happy medium somewhere in between, a combination of muscle testing and talking about metaphors. So when I am with someone physically present, yes, I might do the points and also talk about some metaphors at the same time.
Thank you.
Alexis is saying in the chat, Hannah and Alexis are both metaphors instructors too, if that's a class people would be interested in.
Is metaphor something that's different than Touch for Health?
Yes and no. It's a Touch for Health class. It's approved by the IKC, but it's kind of supplementary to level 1 through 4 because we're focusing more on the symbolic meanings of the muscle movements, the meridians, and the 5 elements. So, of course, all of that information is in Touch for Health, but we're just going more deeply into reflecting on what those different things might be metaphorically in your life.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
any
I
other
always-
feedback? Yeah.
I always
Valerie.
love watching your intuitive process while you're goal setting. The way you walk through with people and the things that you know, I love watching you do that process. It's awesome.
Thank you. And I was trying to get into the screen using a big piece of paper. I picked that up. My father used to do that teaching classes, and I started doing the teaching classes, but I realized people like that. And even if I'm alone with someone in a room, rather than just secretly writing on my tablets, my judgments and conclusions about people, I like to write on the board so they can see very big exactly what I'm writing. So it's no secret. And it's part of my reflective listening or active listening that what they've told me, they can see I'm noting down. And they can even correct it if, oh, no, that's not what I said. Change that word. So it's actually a helpful part of the process to kind of think out loud on the board while we're doing the session.
Love it. Love it. Thank you.
Well, that's not a complete 14 muscle session, which is usually my preference, but I've also been amazed over the years in kind of recent decade or so, how powerful a 3 or 4 muscle balance can be. And especially if it's a first session, so there's like kind of more explanation of what we're doing. And so maybe education takes more time in a first session. So that's kind of like a genuine session. And we'll just do a few muscles and don't overtax. With some people, just testing 3 muscles, if they have a lot of soreness, tension, and pain, using the muscles, 3 muscles is enough because doing more would be taxing on the person. So I've really been amazed when I make that judgment, like, okay, we balanced 3 muscles. Let's just wait and see what happens after that. And the next day, I sometimes get amazing reports back that after just balancing 3 muscles, we get not just benefit in those particular muscles and ranges of motion, but that general energy flow improvement. And they're feeling much more comfortable in many ways, not just in the particular muscles.
Thank you so much
So,
for coming and showing us things and answering people's questions. We are appreciative.
Thank you, mysterious voice from behind the GEMS logo.
Do not look behind the curtain.
It's great to hear your voice, Alexis, even if I don't get to see your face on the video. And it's great to meet all of you. Some of you I've met before, some maybe this is the first time, so great to see you. Hope this has been interesting for you and there's some gem for you to take away from this evening.